So, I boiled up a bunch of corn. Chihuahuas get corn too. So, lucky them. I ate half my salad so far. Yeah. And very bitter. So, it's too bad.
What's bitter?
Well, lettuce. So I'm going to be talking about Jesus. I think only Jesus. Wow. And this one. That was celery. This one's cucumber.
Which one's cucumber?
I love cucumber juice. I love it. It's so good. I love drinking cucumber juice more than eating cucumbers. And I love eating cucumbers. Anyway, where am I? I'm on lecture 26, Gospels and Acts. 4 Gospel order: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. There's 5 sections. And we're all familiar with Matthew. Love thy enemy. Do unto others.
Yeah. And what does it say? Do unto others and then run?
Yes, and then run. That's what it says. Yes. Anyway, Sermon on the Mount, 5 discourses, reminiscent of 5 books of Moses. Jesus presented as new law given in Matthew. So, yeah, sort of. It's what he was saying is there's Matthew's kind of divided into 5 sections, and it's supposed to remind you of the 5 books of Moses. That's what he's saying. I had never even thought of that. I have no idea.
Go through that again. What does he say?
Well, he's saying that Matthew is sort of divided into 5 sections. He's talking about 5 different, I guess, things or whatever, topics somehow. And that's supposed to remind you of the 5 books of Moses somehow. And I'd never even thought about that. I have no idea. So, that's new to me and new to James apparently. So
I was raised on this.
Yeah. Anyway, Matthew, birth, then skips almost 3 decades. In Mark, Jesus was the suffering Messiah. Jesus' identity is kept secret in life. Empty tomb, women afraid and fled, telling no one. And he says, this is a quote, "Are you going to be like his disciples who abandoned him to the Roman authorities and the women who fled in terror saying nothing, or are you going to join Mark in proclaiming the good news?" That's how he takes the ending of that. And that is new to me too. That had never occurred to me.
Gotta reread. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna. Whatever. That's his take on it. So whatever. He obviously has read this stuff, and somehow this is how he's come up with this. So
lots of people read lots of stuff. Lots of people read things into things. So
whatever. Luke, traveling companion of Paul. Mark, associate of Peter. John was an apostle. Matthew, early disciple and tax collector. I didn't think Matthew was a tax collector. He was, eh?
Yeah.
Huh.
Not a nice guy.
All right. Age 12. Jesus lost in Jerusalem and found in temple. In Luke, stories about Jesus, but subtle variation. Luke focuses more on women and unpopular people, such as tax collectors and poor. And this is a quote, and this very new to me also. I want James's take on this, is why I quoted this word for word. So, Samaritans were a marginalized group of Jews, tracing their ancestry back to people who'd remained in the land after the conquest of Israel by the Assyrians in 722 BCE.
Absolutely wrong. Absolutely.
There you go. Well, I had to quote it word for word because I thought James would get it.
You have got to do your homework.
Yeah.
I'm not tired of correcting professors
No, but you got to
off the
explain this
top
to
of
the
my
audience
head
because this
when they're
is
giving
so wrong.
lectures, but it is wrong. When you're doing this in particular, it could be forever, but it is entered on the internet, and it makes him look so bad. We have the actual records of where the Samaritans come from. They are not Jews, they are Arabs. They are the only Arabs who, strictly speaking, have any right to any area of so-called Palestine. It really should be called Israel. What happened was the Assyrians, 722 BC, exact date, under Shalmaneser the fifth. He's mentioned in the Bible. Interestingly enough, they didn't number fifth because they wouldn't have known. I don't think the Assyrians numbered in the fifth, but we do. The fifth and last. So, Shalmaneser. He defeated Samaria, the northern tribes, the 10 lost tribes. And who lost them? Oh, it was him and his successor, Sargon II. Again, Sargon is mentioned in the Bible. His real name would be more like Sharrakan, but we call him Sargon because that's the way it's pronounced in the Bible. And yeah, Shalmaneser is the biblical pronunciation too. Spelled, we pronounce it very different than the Hebrews. Now, or what? And they took out the 10 lost tribes. We actually have their records. They're very proud of, defeating Samaria. I mean, it'd be a small-time thing. They were more interested in Egypt, something like that. And then next year, 720, Sargon II beat up Egypt and actually set up a dynasty there. They numbered the 22nd dynasty. That's Egyptologists. And it's a very interesting dynasty. But we've got Sargon's record. You take off people lock, stock, and barrel, and you got, I know what he's going with, the stupid misinterpretation. We've got the Assyrian stuff. They're skeptical about the numbers. 701, Sargon's son, Sennacherib. Here's what he says. He invaded Judah and the Negev. And from the Negev, I think more than from Judah itself, or Judah, the southern part of Judah, the Negev. He says, here's what his record says. This is a desert, semi-arid or semi-arid area. And he says he took over 200,000, ethnic cleansees or whatever. Think of that, in a desert area. I don't think it has 200,000 people now with drip irrigation. 200,000 people. Now, they all, the Assyriologists say he was exaggerating. Maybe, but he's exaggerating by a factor of 2. That's still 100,000 people. Guess what? He took everyone off. The Assyrians were brutes. They were ethnic cleansers like crazy. Probably the most successful, possible, I won't say. But, at least they didn't whack the people. I mean, there are lots of people that succeeded and would just whack everyone, stuff like that. But they were major league ethnic cleansers. They were proud of it. They drew pictures of, they'd draw pictures of people going, to another land. Did you know that, fella? They'd show the people lugging along whatever they could carry. Their little kids going along and stuff like that. They're proud of it, huh? It's really quite sad. They're triumphing and doing this to poor people, families going along,
Mm-hmm.
But I won't mention the other stuff they depicted. They were very proud of things that were war crimes and crimes against humanity. So not were, but are nowadays, and rightfully so. Anyway, they're designated that. Rarely are they punished in today's little world. But Sargon says, basically the Assyrians didn't like leaving waste territory. They like getting tribute from places, taxes, tribute. They like trading too with places, and they also wanted people there to protect it.
I really should just use my fingers
their little
for eating
empire from neighbors. So what they did was, and they talked about it. He brought in people from Arabia, people that he conquered in Arabia, ethnically cleansed part of. I think it's northern Arabia. I have to check. and he moved them into there. So the Samaritans are Arabs. And what happened was, somewhere along the line, I think they wanted to, they probably had many different beliefs, They were polytheists, even like 1,300 years later, when Muhammad was born, into adulthood. They were up until 630 AD, actually, when Muhammad took over Mecca. They were polytheists, and like you get one particular group, and they both worship one god, and another group another god, more than another, right? They get together in Samaria. The Assyrians didn't really care about it. They pushed in together, right? Mm-hmm. And so I guess they just decided to get a religion for all of them. And I don't know if it was generated from within, or from, the Assyrians just kind of said, or I don't think the Jews were saying, hey, we can help you out. But what they did apparently was they took hold of the Torah, which I believe is the first 5 books of the Bible. They don't really, the Tanakh, is that what he was calling it? The Hebrews tend to call it the Scriptures, right? They don't call it the Old Testament. Why would they? Because they're in the New Testament. And I do the same thing, something like that. Just go with the traditional type. But at any rate, so they are, you could call them maybe Jews, but they're not left over. That's insane. This guy has not done his homework, or else he's misrepresenting. I'm going to give him an out, but this is not an out. I think maybe some people think, the Assyrians really didn't deport all the 10 lost tribes, didn't really lose them. Some of them hung around, or some of them drifted back. And I am telling you, some of them would have drifted back. That's ISIS. That's what happens with every time people are ethnically cleansed. You cannot ethnically cleanse again and again and again. So, people drifted back. Hey, Jews drifted back to the Holy Land after they were expelled. Are you hearing this, you fake left-wingers out there? The Jews drifted back after 135 AD. They were ethnically cleansed, but they drifted back. That's what happened with the Akkadians. They had to be expelled twice, and they still drifted back. There are Akkadians in places like Annapolis Royal and south of there in St. Mary's Bay. They drifted back. That's what people do. You can't expel people just constantly, boom, 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 boom. They drift back. So left-wingers, do a little bit of reading and stuff like that. You fake left-wingers, don't be fake anymore. Like, do a little bit of reading, and then, what's even more important is process the stuff. Just don't be, hey, I don't like reading this. I'm getting cognitive dissonance. It's hurting my wee little brain.
All right.
Process the stuff.
So that was a long version.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Well, there you go. I'm just kind of trying to demonstrate that I've actually done the homework, and it wasn't assigned.
Yeah. Okay. First 3 Gospels, synoptic, seen together. Gospel of John, Jesus doesn't hide his identity. That was a loud apple. Mystical. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So that sort of thing. Book of Signs, John 1-12, miracles. Q. German pronounced Kavella. Mark quotation sayings. Matthew and Luke used Mark and Q to put together their Gospels. I didn't know this. I didn't know any of this stuff. So anyway.
Lay that on me then about Q.
You'll just have to read it in the book, okay, because I didn't know anything about this. So, if you care about that,
they have all sorts of weird ideas about how the Old Testament was put together. Yeah. Actually, they got all sorts of weird ideas about the New Testament was put together.
Looking at the differences to speculate is redactive criticism.
Exactly.
Baptism of Jesus, Mark, when Jesus is baptized, voice from heaven, "You are my son, my beloved, with you I am well pleased." Matthew adds a conversation where John first refuses to baptize Jesus and then asks to be baptized by Jesus instead. The voice from heaven says, "This is my son, the beloved, with whom I am well pleased." So it's similar, but not the same.
Well, He might have said to Jesus and then to the other people.
He might have.
It's easily resolvable. It's not something to get all
No.
excited about. There
There are
contradictions
yeah,
in the Bible,
which are
New
way
Testament,
more, and he
that
doesn't
are
mention
real
them.
contradictions. So
Which are, especially when you look into the resurrection and stuff. So anyway, Luke John may not have been the one who baptized, could have been another from his ministry. Acts, third person voice, he did, then shifted to first person. Who were we? Stephen stoned, first Christian martyr. Young Saul held the coats of those throwing stones. Later he is renamed Paul when he follows Jesus. Lecture 27, Letters and Apocalypse. First Thessalonians, 3 or 4 pages long. Paul mentions these Thessalonians often in his prayers. The righteous Christians will rise from their graves into heaven and will join them.
what is that? Thessalonians?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thessalonians 4:17 is the basis for the rapture, which I wasn't raised with the rapture and you weren't either. But a lot of people are.
I'm a rapturous individual, but I was never raised around
No.
that kind of, we'll say stuff, but
Sure.
I was thinking of something different.
Paul, Romans, warns Gentile converts not to think of themselves as superior to the Jews. God will still be faithful to his promises to Israel. Corinthians, Greece, love is patient, love is kind. Galatians? How do you pronounce that?
Galatians?
Galatians.
Galatia would be easier. So those are Celtic people who moved into the middle of Turkey. I'm not kidding.
Really?
Well, you see how it's like Gael, right?
Huh.
Or Gaelic.
I'm going to make sure I still have time on the camera. Yeah, I do see how it's like Gaelic. That's weird.
Yeah, I think they're supposed to move there something like 250 BC or something like that. Hey, the Celtics were moving into there. Celts are moving all over the place. You know, when you actually look at the Cimmerians, the Assyrians were messing with, around roughly a little bit after the time they were messing around with the 10 lost tribes. Well, you know, I think some people, I don't know what they think. Are they maybe Slavic tribes? Come on. You know, like, it's like Cymru, that's a name for Wales. Cambrian, Cumberland. There is a name similar to that. I think it's Cymru for Wales. For people that they think are Germanic people in Belgium. Come on, you morons. Come on. These are Celtic people. It's just, they would have been nomads, and every so occasionally they would erupt. You know?
Okay, so Galatians, Paul's angry letters. He skips Thanksgiving. Other Christians had been telling people to circumcise, and Paul was angry about this. So, yeah. Philippians?
Philippians, so people in Philippi. I think that would be named after Philip, Alexander's father. So, you know, this is about 300 years after Alexander the Great. So that, I think the main Philippi would be in northern Greece. Thessaly is again an area, it's not a city in northern Greece. Thessalonians.
Oh, boy. Anyway, is a letter written by Paul from prison. Philemon. No.
Philemon is usually how they say it.
Okay. Written on behalf of a runaway slave to his Christian master. It's suspected that the following weren't actually written by Paul. Colossians,
To the people of Colossae, I believe that's a place in Turkey, kind of like western Turkey or mid to west.
2 Thessalonians, Ephesians,
Ephesians, place extreme west of Ephesus, extreme west of Turkey, a large city, very large city.
1-2 Timothy,
Timothy's not a city.
and Titus.
Titus again.
Hebrews
Timothy,
is,
Greek name. Titus, I think, is a Roman name.
Hebrews is a sermon, and it's doubted that it was by Paul.
Which one is that? Hebrews?
Yep. James, Peter, Paul, and Jude, general apostles. No, epistles
Epistle. So epistle
Or-
is a Greek word that means basically the letter.
or Catholic epistles seem to have been written to Christians in general. Revelation and Daniel, apocalyptic, wicked majority and oppressed minority. God brings justice soon. Violent imagery, scroll with 7 seals, a dragon, which I do not remember,
Oh, there's a lot of
and
stuff in Revelation.
beast with multiple heads.
There we go. See?
God will wipe every tear from their eyes since old order's over. Lecture 28, Apocryphal Gospels, French archaeological group codex from 8 to 12 centuries found in Akhmim, Egypt.
Akhmim, that's Egypt. Yeah.
Gospel and Peter, codex. Petronius, name of officer, Roman guard at Jesus' death. 2 men angels descend from heaven. They went into tomb. 3 men came out, and a cross followed them.
Yeah.
3 figures became huge. Heavenly voice asked, "Have you preached to those who sleep?" And the cross answered, "Yes."
I wonder if the cross is upright or crawling.
I don't know, because I think it was just like bouncing along behind them. I'm not sure exactly how that happened. Maybe it floated. Anyway,
Yeah.
Infancy
Anyway,
Gospel of Thomas.
Check that out.
Yeah.
I'm choking with
2nd
this
century. 5-year-old Jesus created 12 sparrows out of mud, then commanded them to leave. There's a longer story about that in here. I just didn't care that much. So, later Jesus was walking in the village, and a child ran into them. Young Jesus, into him. Just an accident, I'm sure. He's just running along, as kids do. Young Jesus angrily said, "You will go no further and on your way." And because everything Jesus said came true, the other child fell down dead. Jesus had to learn to bless, not curse, because he had all these powers that he didn't know what to do with for a while. So this part is showing that some of these books were popular at certain times, but they've been edited out for various reasons. So what he's saying is, look, there's a big gap in Jesus's life, but maybe there wasn't originally. Maybe it was filled with these stories, which the Catholic Church decided, we better get rid of those.
Yeah.
So anyway, the Gospel of Mary, discovered in 1896 and published 1955. Gospel of Thomas and the Didache, I don't know, Nag Hammadi codices found in 1896 and 1903 in Egypt, written in Coptic. And I'm just going to read the things to you later on. So they're, I don't know, some Gnostic stuff. But I've already went over the Great Course on Gnosticism, which was awesome. And everyone should look into that anyway.
Oh yeah, did you get that all in?